All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about one of the sneakiest budget killers in the cloud, observability. It's supposed to give you clarity, but more often than not, it just ends up giving you a giant bill. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, how you can fix it. Whoa, does a number like this send a little shiver down your spine? Maybe it looks painfully familiar. You do the right thing. You set up all this logging and monitoring to get visibility into your systems, and then one day you open the bill and bam, a number like this is staring back at you. It is the classic definition of bill shock, and it happens when the cost of seeing your own data just spirals completely out of control. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to understand why visibility is so expensive in the first place. Then we'll meet the three main culprits that are secretly driving up your bill. After we've identified the problems, we'll get to the good stuff, the solutions, and how to prune those cloud costs. We'll even look at a real-world success story and wrap it all up with 5 solid rules you can use to keep those costs in check for good. Okay, section 1, the high price of visibility. Look, the whole point of observability is to understand what's happening inside your complex systems, right? But here's the catch. Every single log line, every metric, every trace you collect, it all has a price tag. There's a cost to ingest it, a cost to store it, and a cost to analyze it. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. You absolutely need visibility to run reliable services. That's just not up for debate. But the default approach, the log everything, monitor everything mindset, well, that is a one-way ticket to overspending. The key isn't to stop observing, it's to start observing smarter. So let's meet the antagonists of our story. In Section 2, we're putting a spotlight on the 3 main technical issues that quietly inflate your Google Cloud bill month after month. These are the things you really need to be hunting for in your own systems. And here they are, our 3 culprits. First up, verbose logs. Think of this as the system chatterbox that never shuts up. Second, we have unbounded metrics. This is the data that just keeps growing and growing, with no end in sight. And third, high cardinality labels. These are the little tags that seem harmless but actually multiply your data points into oblivion. Let's break each one down. This slide shows our first culprit perfectly. On the left, you've got a classic verbose debug log from a GKE pod. Look at it. It's got multiple lines, a full stack trace. It's a mess to parse. And you better believe it's incredibly expensive to ingest and store. Now look to the right. A clean, structured JSON log. It has only the essential info, it's easy for machines to read, and most importantly, it costs a fraction of the price. Culprit number 2, unbounded metrics. Okay, imagine this. You create a custom metric to track API response times. Sounds reasonable. But then you decide to add a label for the unique user ID on every single request. If you have 1 million users, guess what? You just created 1 million individual time series for that one metric. It grows uncontrollably, and, you guessed it, so does your bill. And our third and final culprit is a close cousin to the last one, high cardinality labels. The thing is, even if a single label isn't totally unbounded, when you start combining several of them, you get a cost explosion. Using tags like a specific pod ID, a commit hash, or a request ID means the number of unique combinations just skyrockets, and every single one of those combinations becomes a separate, buildable data point. Okay, we've met the villains. Now for the fun part. Section 3 is all about the fixes. This is where we take out our virtual pruning shears and start strategically cutting back these costs, all without sacrificing the critical insights you actually need to run your business. And here's the playbook. For those verbose logs, the fix is twofold. First, you redesign your logging levels so debug isn't flooding your production environment. Then, you implement intelligent sampling. For unbounded metrics, you have to control that growth by aggregating strategically, grouping data instead of tracking every unique event. And for high cardinality labels, the discipline is simple. Only use labels that have a low, predictable number of possible values. So you might be thinking, does this stuff actually work? Well, let's jump to section 4 and look at a real-world example. This is the story of a team that went from that initial, horrifying bill shock to a state of complete control by applying these exact fixes. And here it is. The proof is in the pudding. Just look at this chart. The team started with that $50,000 a month bill we saw at the beginning. After they made a targeted effort to fix their verbose logs, aggregate their metrics, and clean up their labels, they brought the cost all the way down to just $8,000 a month. That's an 84% reduction. And they didn't lose any critical visibility in the process. This is absolutely achievable. So, how do you make this kind of success repeatable? How do you make sure it sticks? That brings us to our final section, the 5 fundamental rules for cost-aware observability. Think of these as new design principles that you should build into your architecture from day one.
All right, let's walk through them. Rule number 1, define strict logging levels. Your default in production should be info, never debug. Rule 2, implement strategic sampling. Seriously, you don't need a log for every single successful request. Maybe 1% is more than enough. Rule 3, tame that metric cardinality early. Decide which dimensions are absolutely essential before you ship the code. Rule 4, make every single label count. If a label isn't being used for a critical alert or dashboard, you should ask yourself if you really need it all. And finally, Rule 5, review and refine quarterly. Your systems are always changing, so your observability strategy has to evolve right along with them.
And we'll end on this thought. You now have the technical playbook. You know the culprits, you know the fixes, you know the rules to control observability costs. But the technology, that's only half the battle. The real question is, does your team have the engineering discipline to actually implement these rules and make cost awareness a real part of your culture? That's the challenge to take back with you.